What are the biggest causes of indecisiveness? First and foremost, it's a lack of clarity, a lack of self-knowing and self-understanding. You see, when you're born into this life, you don't know anything about yourself. It's very funny, very kind of paradoxical, because you are yourself, but you don't really know your own personality. I'm not even talking about that you don't know like your God self. Forget that. You don't even know your personality. You don't even know, like, it takes decades for you to discover your own personality. It takes decades for you to discover that you're an introvert or an extrovert or an ambivert, or that you're a thinker, or you're a feeler, or that you're highly intuitive, or that you're very intelligent, or that you're very, gifted athletically, or that you have a certain strength or a certain talent with people. You're a great communicator, you're a good leader, or maybe you're a good lover, or maybe you excel at, working with technical data and numbers, whatever it is. It takes you a long time to discover that. It takes you a long time to discover what you want in your life and what you don't want in your life. Like, do you want to have a boss? Do you want to be your own boss? What do you want there? Do you want to be a highly social person or not? Are you the kind of person that's like a family person or not? Are you a very materialistic person or not? Does material stuff satisfy you or not? Are you a very intellectual person? Do you need a lot of like books and learning and information in your life to feel happy? Or are you more of an artistic person? Or are you more of a salesy, businessy type of person? It takes a long time to discover all this and figure this all out for yourself. Especially because a lot of times we're traumatized when we're young. And then so that trauma obscures, because the trauma requires us to then come up with coping and defense mechanisms. And then we confuse those coping and defense mechanisms for our own authentic personality. And then we can have these defense mechanisms and we can identify with them and we can think that those are really who I am, but they're not. Those are just armoring that you've created to prevent yourself from being further hurt in your life and to reduce your suffering and pain. But that's not the same thing as being, authentic and really understanding who you are underneath all that armor. For example, maybe you were bullied in school, and so now, because you were humiliated and bullied in school, you might think that you're not really a social person. But that's not really because you don't authentically enjoy being social. You actually do. It's just that you've been so bullied and you have wounds around that and trauma that until you heal all that and remove all that armor, then you're not going to be able to really connect with that authentic part of you that wants to socialize and connect with other people, right? And so now you're socially crippled, and you might even think that, I'm a very shy, introverted, almost autistic-like person. But it's not that you're really autistic. It's actually that you're inexperienced because you got that early trauma, and you're just socially inexperienced. And that's something that you can work out, but it might take you years to work through that trauma. So clarity is gained by really observing and studying yourself and understanding yourself at ever deeper levels. So that's the first cause of indecisiveness. The next huge cause of indecisiveness is fear. You fear making the wrong decision. The next big cause of indecisiveness is just being lazy and hoping and thinking that things will automatically work themselves out. It's sort of the passive approach rather than the proactive approach to life. Siding with passivity versus proactivity. This is almost always the wrong move. The next big cause of indecisiveness is a lack of responsibility. You're not actually taking responsibility for making important decisions in your life. You want somebody else to make it for you. The next big cause of indecisiveness is placing too much importance on the decision. It's ironic and paradoxical that a lot of these important and bold decisions, even though they are important and bold, and they will shape the whole trajectory of your life, if you placed too much emphasis on their importance, then actually that's going to make you indecisive, because you're going to be like, oh my God, this decision is going to change my whole life. I have to get it perfect. And that perfectionism is actually going to get in the way of you making the decision. Again, this actually is very connected to fear, because really in this instance, what you're doing is you're scared of making the wrong decision. So it's important in your own mind to reframe decision-making to take the fear out of it. And here's how you can do that. First, by realizing that most of your decisions can be remade. If you make the wrong decision, usually you have enough time in your life to go back and change it and redo it. And oftentimes, making the wrong decision actually gives you the information that you lacked and the clarity that you lacked. And it helps you to figure out your own deepest authentic desires and self. For example, when I got my first job as a game designer, at that point, I didn't know how deeply I needed to be my own boss. It wasn't until I had a boss for a year that I realized the problem that I have at my core with having a boss. It wasn't that, I didn't like having somebody tell me like what to do and being somebody's subordinate. That wasn't my problem. My problem was that I was deeply creatively, artistically ambitious, and I needed to get those ideas out, right? I had like a visionary core to me that needed to be expressed, and I was not able to express that when I had a boss, and my job was helping him to express his artistic core, right? That doesn't work for me. Somebody else can fill that role, but I can't fill that role. And I didn't know that. Nobody told me this when I was young. School didn't teach me this. My parents didn't teach me. I had to figure this out through trial and error. So I made a decision to get this job, but then I realized that was the wrong decision. The right decision for me was to start my own business. But I couldn't know that until I made this wrong decision. So don't be afraid of making wrong decisions and failing as a result, because actually failure is okay. I have an old episode that talks about how to reframe failure, how to really think deeply about failure. Go search for it. Very important one, actually. I should probably do a sort of a new updated version of it, because there's people really trap themselves with their fear of failure. And people really have a low tolerance for failure. And in this work, to succeed at life and to actualize your full potential, you're going to have to fail so much. You're not going to get through this without massive failure. In fact, you have to embrace failure and look forward to failure and actually find ways of failing faster. Get the failure out of the way. And one of the ways you do that is you make decisions, clear decisions, rather than stalling because you're afraid to fail. Another way to reframe fear of failure is to remember that most of your decisions are not going to kill you, which means that you're going to be able to get a second chance and a third chance and a fourth chance. And this is realistically how you're going to solve most of your problems in life. You're not going to solve them by making the one perfect decision right off the bat and then succeeding. It's going to be like, you're going to make the wrong decision. You're going to fail 5, 10 times. And then just because of your persistence and your sheer doggedness and your commitment to your life purpose and self-actualization, if you're persistent enough, eventually, like on the 11th attempt, you'll succeed. And it's not by accident that you're going to succeed. You're going to succeed because of those first 10 failures. Because each of those 10 failures are going to teach you important lessons that you're going to use to fine-tune and to calibrate your approach until finally you get it right and you learn on the 11th time and then you succeed. And so really, you should look at the entire process as a process of success. It's not that the success comes on the 11th time. It's that those first 10, that was your success happening. It's just that success has a long, a wind-up period.